Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
What's up, dude?
What's going on, cousin?
Welcome to the Thunderdome.
The Thunderdome.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no problem. I've never done one of these before, so thanks for having me on. I guess that's what everybody says.
Bro, I'd be popping so many cherries on here. It's ridiculous.
How
But
many
watch
have
this.
these? How many have these have you done so far?
We're about 25 deep.
Invested.
Yeah, I like it. I like this style. It's just fun to do, man. Watch this. After this, you'll be addicted, bro. You gotta be careful.
We'll
Everybody
see, man.
wanting 2 shows. Everybody wanting 2 episodes, and gotta get in line.
Well, I guess you'll have to tag my email so they can hit my inquiries.
I could plug in whatever you want. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I hear you perfect.
And you have good connection?
Yep, I got my 5G Wi-Fi, so we're good.
5G Wi-Fi. Cool. Well, let's rock, dude. What do you want to talk about?
You know, I've never really. I wanted to ask you, where does the name acai come from? Why are
Oh,
you called acai?
oh man, if you know, you know. Now, it was funny. That all started because when I went to this jiu-jitsu gym, Supremacy, that's like when I first got back into training again. There happened to be 3 other Kevins in that class. Well, 3 total, like me and 2 other Kevins. And every time they called like Kevin, all 3 of us would walk forward. Like if people were calling out partners and they're like Kevin or someone said Kevin, like all 3 of us would react. And in jiu-jitsu, typically there's like white gis and blue gis and sometimes black, but I always wore blue. All my gis were blue. Pay attention because this is going to all tie together, all right? So
Got it.
it's an uneventful story, but like basically since my last name is Barry, one day when professor called me Kevin, I said, you guys could just call me Barry. Like some people call me Barry. And all the Brazilian dudes said acai because that's like a Brazilian fruit berry, like a super fruit. And then all the Brazilians in there went acai, and like just from there
Just
on,
stuck.
it stuck. Yeah, it was like I'm
Just
like,
stuck like wet mud.
yeah, pretty much, dude. Like I was pretty much like, it could definitely be worse, bro. You got to kind of take it how it is because it could easily be one of them names you don't want to stick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was gonna say that could easily happen, man, because it seems like when nicknames happen, they stick, and you get stuck with one that you don't like, you're kind of screwed.
It's kind of funny because whenever Brazilians like whenever they're all like speaking Portuguese or like I hear acai and they all like kind of smirk and look over like it's kind of like it's like kind of funny to them, I guess. I don't know, but I'll take it like a superfood, bro. It's kind of a compliment. So
Yeah.
from being a blue gi and last name being Berry, I think that's what happened. Somebody said blueberry, and then one of the couple of this a couple of the Portuguese guys in there said acai at the same time, and then it became like a acai, and it just stuck. So
Gotcha.
I'm branded.
Gotcha.
So yeah, man, we were talking the other day, and we started talking about your surgery, and I thought it'd be pretty interesting because in the martial arts realm, especially in the grappling side of things, I mean, all side of things have like injuries, but like the grapplers have like bad luck with joints and as you could imagine, vertebrae,
hmm
and it's something like a lot of the wrestlers have like neck problems, and then I have my neck problem from my car accident. A lot of guys have lower back issues. A lot of guys get sciatic pain. um and if you train long enough, you're almost always injured. And I thought it'd be really interesting to have you on and talk about like some of, I mean, not just bullshit, I mean obviously just bullshit as well, but like kind of brush up on like your experience with the surgery because
Right. Right. Okay, so first of all, I think if you can make it to age 30 and not have any type of injury at all, just from living a normal life, you'd be considered lucky, in my opinion. I mean,
Right.
it just seems like there's so many, I mean, as amazing as the human body is, there's so many parts of it that are compromised.
Yes.
So I don't know. With that said, I think this really just stems from work because for anyone who doesn't know me, first of all, I'm your little cousin.
Yep.
That's usually how I describe myself to your friends or your friend group. I'm Kevin Barry's little cousin.
Do you like
Oh,
that?
okay.
Do you like that? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
is it
I
weird if I
think
like tell people like, oh, this is my little cousin Bryce? Like, if I introduce you, like, even my brother, I don't really introduce like this is my brother. I'll just be like, hey, this is Logan.
I guess it just goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It just kind of sticks, and I like even if you don't say that, I'll be like, yeah, I'm Kevin Barry's little cousin.
Okay.
So yeah, it works.
I never
And
know if it's like kind of just I don't know. I don't know why I've always just kind of been like, well, he's Bryce.
yeah, it just kind of clicks because when I say it, people are like, oh, okay, like they know right away. But yeah, anyway, going back to my injury, I have a or had, I guess, had or have because I had surgery now, a herniated disc in my lower lumbar, which I believe that's L5S1. And for anyone who's thinking about moving pianos, I wouldn't suggest it because that's what I did for work for a long time. Piano mover.
Mm-hmm.
So, lifting heavy objects is, but there was never any point in time where I was like, I lifted a piano and I was like, oh, there it is, like agonizing pain, like that was it, like, or a pop or anything. It was just like one day I was riding in that bumpy truck, that box truck, and it just like slowly, I don't know if it was just like one day I just noticed like this pain in my lower left buttock area, and it was just radiating pain, and it wouldn't go away. And you know,
I was gonna
uh,
ask you about the same exact thing. Was it around the time that I was working there it started kicking in, or was it kicking in before that?
I think it was a little bit before that, but I
Okay.
really I really noticed it when my work at that box truck. It's one of those Isuzu. I don't know what kind of style it's called. Like the cab sits over the motor, and those things are just super bumpy. As you know, you worked in it with me for a little while.
Dude, that thing was freaking rough.
Yeah. So, and at this
You,
point in time, I didn't really know what it was, and it just so happened that you and I actually delivered a piano on Christmas Eve to a orthopedic spine surgeon. And I was like, at this point, I was like, kind of escape the pain. I was taking ibuprofen around the clock just to be somewhat comfortable. And I was telling him what it was. And, his first initial impression actually turned out to be a real nice guy. He's the one who actually ended up doing the surgery on me, but he thought it was something else. He thought it was, it's another joint. I can't think of the name, because he's thinking in his head, this guy's so young. He's 25 years old. There's no way he's got a back herniation. But anyway, we got an MRI done, and he's like, "Yeah, man, you got a herniated disc, and it's bad, and it looks pretty bad." I was like, "All right, well, what can we do?" And he said, "Well, first thing we can do, we want to take a conservative approach, and we'll do steroid injections." And I was like, "All right, let me think about it." So, like anyone with half a brain does, goes home, does a little bit of research on it, makes a decision if you want to do it or not. So I went ahead and did it. First one worked really well. I got a lot of relief from it, and then it wore off. So, I guess tried a second one. And the second one, well, let me just say the first one, I got relief for about 2 to 3 months. And then the second one, actually going back to the first one, sorry, I'm all over the place here, but I was laying down on the table, butt up in the air, laying on my stomach, and they shoot the lidocaine in there, numb it up, and then he sticks this, I didn't look, but he sticks this giant ass needle in there that's got the whatever steroids in there that numbs you up or reduces the inflammation. And all of a sudden I just feel this jolt all the way down to my toe, like from my from my leg all the way down to my toe, and it just felt like lightning's the only way I could describe it. Like I got struck by lightning only in my leg, and only thing I could do is like, ow, like instant reaction. And he's like, hey, you got to sit still because I got this needle in your back, and if you move, I could really damage your nerve. So anyway, I think the first one worked so well because he was right there on my nerve, and that's where the issue stemmed from. So,
Mm. Yeah,
um,
like I told you before, like I've because I got one in my neck, and from my research, and I don't like I'm not, me, I like try to stay away from as much as I possibly can. Um, that that's what I read was like I was pretty much like had a 50-50 chance of having relief, and that's why when you got it and it worked, I was kind of like, oh shit, like you're pain free because you were in a lot of pain and you were taking a shit ton of ibuprofen every day. So it's like good to give your body a break from processing that. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's really bad on your kidneys.
Yeah, and yeah, and I wonder what does make the difference because and I think that's what you're about to brush up on is like you got the second one and it didn't really do much at all, right?
Yeah, it did very little. I'd say it was like 10 or 20% improvement. It just really just took a little bit of edge off that pain. So, after that, I really toughed it out for a long time because the next approach was going to be more invasive. It was going to be, scalpel type stuff to get in there and surgery and all that. And I, like you hear so many stories about people getting surgery, and the next thing you hear is don't get surgery. I was worse off now than I was before surgery. How many times have you heard that?
Dude, I just met so many people in physical therapy because my experience, and I'll share a little. I mean, I want to hear yours, but I'll share a little bit of mine. Like my experience was like so instantly, like instantly I'm in pain. And then the other thing that I think like made a huge difference was like I had a concussion right off the bat with the car accident. So like I'm trying to deal with a whole bunch of shit and a whole bunch of pain while concussed. And I couldn't get any treatment. Like I spent like a whole day like calling doctors' offices, telling them I was in a car accident and saying like I don't feel right. I want to come and get looked at and go possibly get an MRI. And I understand like I can't just tell a doctor like, yo, they got procedures and all that kind of shit that they got to go through. But like, I couldn't get help until I called a lawyer. All of a sudden, bro, lawyer calls me back, and within an hour, I have an appointment to go get a full fucking examination. Should have been my first, like, kind of like, huh, this is weird. But, like in the moment, I'm feeling like shit. I'm like, oh, thank God, this is awesome. And then it, like, instantly I kind of realized like that doctor I went to, they prescribed me physical therapy, they prescribed me a painkiller, they prescribed me a like big boy ibuprofen, and then they also prescribed me an MRI. So like I went in there and got like basically like anything I would need to hold me over, right? And the only thing that helped me was, long story short, the only thing that helped me was like physical therapy, like the hard work. But in physical therapy, I was around other people who had different stages of almost like the same exact things. And I met a lot of people in there who were like, yeah, I got my neck fused or I got, this or that. And, I was pretty open with like my physical therapist and because, they're doctors and stuff like it's pretty open about like what I was going through and like going through my options and telling them like where I look, but what do they think? How do I seem? Like, what does recovery usually look like? Both to their knowledge and people in there would hear me and they were like, like I want to get the surgery, don't get it. Like it just like just a different pain and it's not much better. And
Yeah.
I kind of took that stance, and I'm wondering, I'm curious at at the stage where you were getting the shot, what was your alternative? Like, what was your head thinking? Like, I'm going through pain every day. It's not going away. What was like in your like you come up with solutions. Like what was your brain thinking? Like what was your possible paths?
my brain immediately thought, I'm not getting surgery. I'm too young for that, man. I'm too young. I'm not getting surgery. So, I mean, I dealt with it for 3 years and it never got better. It just only got worse. So, just at a certain point, you're like, man, 3 years of being in like a 7 or 8 out of 10 pain, like every single day, just gets really old. And, it, you say this is your series is about mental toughness.
Yeah.
Talk about mental toughness, how hard it is when you're in pain every single day to come home from work, go through the daily grind, come back to the family and be just in a good mood. I mean, I did. It was difficult, but I feel like I was pretty mental tough because even though I would kind of complain about, oh, I'm in a lot of pain, I was still in a good mood all the time. But you just get to a point where it just kills you, man. Just even mentally, you can only be when you're in pain. It seems like you can only tough it out for so long.
Yeah, chronic pain is
And
no joke.
right, so yeah, I got to a point and I was like, I got to do something. And I asked the doctor, I actually got another MRI done. I got a second MRI done. This was a little over a year after the first one. And, as the pain suggested, nothing got looked any better. So he said, here's your options. We can do a microdiscectomy, which is a minimally invasive surgery where they go through your back and they, it's about a 1.5 inch incision. Mine ended up being a little bit bigger just because my case was pretty severe. They slice you open from your back and they use a dilator. And I think he said that he had to cut a little bit of muscle, use a dilator, and then once they get past your muscle, he's got to Dremel out part of your spine. It's the pointy part of your spine that you actually can feel if you take your hand and
Hmm.
feel your back down there. It's like a roof of a house, it's pointed. So he
Yeah.
said to Dremel some of that off, and then he's got to locate the nerve root. And the nerve root is kind of a little delicate because if there's a tissue around your nerve root that's called the dura, and if you penetrate that, it's a barrier. So if you penetrate that, you're going to leak spinal fluid, and that's a complication to the surgery. So that's a risk that you take when you say, yeah, I want to do the surgery. So I think
Ugh.
it's like a 7% risk. So I was like, all right, those odds aren't too bad. And my surgeon seemed pretty confident. He's like, you know, it's a 7% chance, according to the book, but with me, it's about a 1% chance. So I was like, all right, I like that. He's confident.
What if he told you like he's done 99 surgeries and it hasn't happened yet? So you probably could. Would you start thinking like that's a positive, or would you start thinking like, oh shit, he's due?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I would think, this guy's pretty good, man. I mean, that's the whole idea is, to work on somebody and not mess them up.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, so they move the spinal cord to the side and then they remove the part of your disc that's herniated.
Mm.
So, and I'm actually type 1 diabetic. So he said too, there was some fat deposits on my spinal cord. And I was like, what's that all about? And he's like, we don't ever see that only in obese people and diabetics. But, he said I removed it. And anyway, he said my case was very severe. So, um, as soon as I woke up, I didn't feel any of that pain where I had been feeling it. But boy, did my back hurt where that incision site was. That was like serious acute pain. I got home, laid in bed, took the painkillers, and I swear those painkillers didn't even touch the pain hardly. I was begging my wife, "Is it time yet? Has it been 4 hours? Can I have another one?"
Fuck.
And I couldn't even move, dude. I was on my back. If I wanted to go just roll to my side in bed, I couldn't. I had to call my wife in here and shout out to her, and she had to roll me over physically, and I just couldn't do it.
Like,
So
oh
he's
wow. So you were having your wife actually like grab you and roll you over side to
yeah,
side? Because
yeah,
I've
she
had
got her.
sciatic pain where it hurts to lay on one side, and actually like shortly after my accident, like I think once the concussion like started going down, like a lot of pain started setting in, and I remember like I could only sit down a certain like one certain way. and I almost fell asleep many nights sitting up because laying down was like hurting my neck so bad. And
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it's like for a neck, but for a back,
I
it's
get yeah,
either, yeah, laying down's beneficial.
that's what I'm saying. Well, what I'm getting at is like just the how much pain it hurt to like put a shirt on. I can only imagine if you're not able to like actually roll to your other side. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So that wasn't from sciatica itself. That was from the surgery.
The surgery, right? But I'm
Yeah.
just like trying to
Envision it.
grasp the amount of pain. You know what I mean? Like,
It was definitely the most pain I've ever been in. I would definitely, on this pain scale, I would rate it a 10. The first 2 days were a 10 for sure.
did it
But
set a whole new bar?
oh, dude, it was
you didn't
unbearable.
you didn't know that kind of pain existed, huh?
Yeah, I felt so bad because we have, a newborn here. My son was 2 months old, and you know, we're barely getting enough sleep as it is. And that first night, the baby's like finally sleeping a good 6 hours. And the first night, I'm just like in the middle of the night, I can't sleep. The pain's so bad. Like I'd sleep for an hour and wake up and just moan and groan, and like was keeping my wife up. I kind of felt bad for doing that, but you just can't help it, man. When you're in a 10 out of 10 pain.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do to get through it, man. I mean, moaning and groaning, or being quiet and holding it in, or you know, everyone's got to be a team player. That's what you sign up for when you pick a partner.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's
Pick a good one.
yeah. So what was it like mentally, like? And I kind of asked you about this the other day, but what was it like mentally, like let's say prepping up, like coming close to the surgery, and then also like what was it like mentally, like rolling in back there? Because I remember you told me, share what you told me too about like how you just all of a sudden woke up. But what's it
Yeah.
like? Like, what are the nerves like? Getting close to surgery time, and then also like when you're like being rolled back in there, and you're like, oh shit, it's about to go down.
So I scheduled it 2 months from the day I called and said, I want to do this. I scheduled it 2 months out, and I could not wait. I could not wait for that surgery. I was in so much pain. So, the nerves really weren't too bad. Of course, you're a little nervous going back, but they weren't really bad at all.
Nice.
So, yeah, they put you in the gown, you lay down, they put your IV in, they roll you back, they go over a couple things with you, and then all of a sudden, I told them, I roll into this room and there's like 15 people in there all prepping, and I'm laying there for 5 minutes and I'm talking to them a little bit, and I'm like, hey, just let me know like when you're about to put me under the anesthesia. I just want to know. And they didn't say anything. And all of a sudden, like it was just like a split-second moment. I was like, all right, this is it, because I felt it, like I was going to sleep, and I was like, this is it. And I just remember them being like, yep. And then next thing you know, I wake up in the recovery room.
Were you confused at first? Like, where the fuck am I?
Oh, dude, I wasn't confused where I was, but I was so loopy. I
Uh,
could hardly keep my eyes. I have a picture of myself. My mom took of me. She took me to the hospital and stayed with me. And she took a picture of me like as soon as I woke up, and I ought to show you. You'll definitely laugh. You'll get a kick out of it.
was it like drunk, or was it like just like you're
Yeah,
just tired?
like it's like both kind of like it's hard to like my eyes. I can't keep my eyes open. Like my eyes are all chinked, and I just threw up like a peace sign. Like, and I got like these marks on my face from whatever equipment they were using. I don't know, but it's a funny picture.
You were litty.
I was, and
Well, that's got
then
to be some serious trust, man. Because like I feel like I would get nervous.
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's it's a little nerve-wracking, but you just got to have faith that everything's going to be okay.
Now you're fast forwarding to how long has it been?
4 weeks yesterday, and I got my stitches out today.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because like my newborn is 4 weeks today. So yeah, you got that. Like, damn, yeah, you were getting like you were going into surgery and stuff. Like when we were going in to have the baby.
I know. I remember talking about that too. I remember telling your wife, "Hey," or not your wife. You might as well be your wife. You guys are basically whatever. But anyway, I remember telling Brittany, I was like, "Hey, the same time I'm getting my surgery, it could be very likely that you guys are having a kid." And, of course, that's kind of really how it happened, and it's kind of weird it happened that way. But hey, anyways, congratulations on the newborn.
Hey, you too, man.
Yeah,
You you think you think all in all, like you can you tell or can you feel yet? Like you think it's like it's gonna work or work out or
it's gonna work out as long as I don't overdo myself in the recovery period, which um so like you're the surgeon's pretty strict. He's like no bending, no lifting, no twisting, no lifting at all, nothing nothing. Like basically bed rest and then just the first couple days just get up and walk to the bathroom and take a piss and go lay back down. That's basically all they want you to do. But it was so hard because I couldn't get out of bed. I had to have people pull me out of bed. But once I got on my feet, I could walk at a snail's pace, of course. But it was just getting because you're laying down in bed and you're trying to get up. You got to use those back muscles that they literally just cut into. So
I
it
was
was
getting like
difficult.
slight updates and I remember hearing like, I mean, I'm kind of at a blur right now. I feel like I'm operating on fumes, but um like I remember just hearing like how bad you were, like getting like little updates here and there as we're getting home and getting settled with the baby. I'm like, damn, it's that bad. But I never really like dove deep into thinking like shit, like standing up is like, you're using back muscles and stabilizing.
Yeah, yeah, it was tough.
I mean, I'm super interested in it. And like I said, like that's like big and like, I mean, most sports, you're not going to, if anyone plays like sports or is like, athletic or an athlete, like it's so rare. Like it blew my fucking mind listening to Terrence Crawford and him talk about how he doesn't have any like injuries, but he could also be bullshitting so nobody knows. You know what I mean? But still, like
Yeah, he could be bullshitting because if he says, "Oh, I have this injury," then his next opponent is going to try and exploit it.
yeah, exactly. So maybe that's part of it. It's just like everyone has something, and like in the jiu-jitsu gym, as much as everyone loves it, like that is like a part of it. Like to be real with everyone, like it's like on the jiu-jitsu mats especially. Usually in like MMA and boxing gyms, there's a little bit more ego, so you don't really hear as much. Everyone kind of like tough mans it. But like in the jiu-jitsu, it's funny because like in jiu-jitsu, it's like everyone tends to be a little bit more laid back, and everybody's fucking hurt. Everyone's got nagging injuries, and um, but I don't see like you don't see like a lot of people who are like, all right, well I'm gonna go get surgery on my back, and I'll be back in like a year. It's kind of like a lot of people just kind of either get used to the pain or you know, it's just interesting how people handle that stuff all differently.
Yeah, I think ultimately you can learn to live with pain, but it's
Sucks.
if there's it sucks, and if there's options available, and it really just comes down to who you surround yourself with good people, good support system, people to take care of you if you do get surgery. Surround yourself, make sure you pick a good surgeon. That's ultimately, I think, the most important detail. Have a doctor who you trust and who you can have faith in to do a good job. So I think that's where I would leave that at.
So you're happy because at first you said fuck no to the surgery, and then what actually changed your mind to decide that it was like worth like doing? Was it just the pain alone, or was it like did he make it make sense to you, or did you like was it a surgery you weren't aware of? Did you like look up and do some research behind it? Well,
When he first told me what my options were, it was steroid injections or surgery, and I said, "What kind of surgery?" And he said, "A fusion." And I was like, "I don't want to get that because that's what I've heard everyone getting. It's basically a cage. That's where they put hardware,
mm-hmm.
in your spine." And I just immediately was like, "I'm not doing that. Surgery is off the table." But then when the second MRI came, I was like, well, what are my options? And he said microdiscectomy. And he explained to me what it was. And I went home and I felt a little confident about it, what he was explaining. And I just did some research and I watched some YouTube videos of the actual procedure. And what really swung me was reading people's comments on the YouTube videos. And everyone who had had that procedure was like, "Oh, it's not a big deal. I'm up and walking the same day. It changed my life. It's like a life-changing surgery. If you're thinking about it, just do it." Like that was over and over. Those were the comments I was reading. So that's really what swung me to do it. But as it turned out, my case was pretty severe, so I wasn't really like up and walking right away like most people
Right.
would. But
So,
if I had to go back, I'd do it again.
did you like? Did you research or dig for other options?
I did do some other options. So I did.
Like,
Uh,
you didn't really do any physical therapy, but like, did you look into like, and I've been talking to you about this, but did you ever like look in like, all right, maybe I don't know, like anything else, like stem cells, or like, did you go off the like your doctor's recommendations, or did you like find anything else that you tried?
so this was kind of like a 3 year stint of me trying to figure it out and navigate. So I was trying to do everything I could to avoid surgery. So the first thing I did was a chiropractor. That didn't work. And then I did I did one session of acupuncture, and I think that it kind of has to be repetitive. You have to keep going back. But to me, in my opinion, seemed a little gimmicky for where I was at and my pain level and my problem. Um, I did do some physical therapy, and that didn't help at all either. I just think it was so injured. There was nothing that could be done. There was no alternative other than just to get the pressure off the nerve, and that was it.
Yeah. See, I get that in my neck, man. Like, I just like, I get this weird craving, and this is where like, and this is my opinion, but to anyone who's listening, just make sure you get alternate opinions and do some research and just kind of, because I had like, I would consider my case like a bad experience. Now that like at the first, at the time and getting through all the bullshit and the insurance and the lawyer and the case, like it was stressful and it had like a lot of extra stress to it. So there's like little details and keys that like I didn't pick up on until now that like I go back and think about it. And I've actually talked to like a lot of different therapists for different things, and like there's just like a lot of like red flags that I missed going through my thing. Like the doctors told me, which I guess it might be semi-permanent, but dude, I didn't know up until recently that like disc heal. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did. I think most people who do suffer a disc injury, I think most of the time it's a bulging disc.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when the disc is actually not ruptured or leaked out into the spinal cord. And I think that can definitely be corrected with some physical therapy. But I think if you have a severe back injury, you pretty much just your options are limited.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to like you said, I mean, you had a bad experience. It's you just got to surround yourself with good people and people you trust, because if not, I mean, what do you do? I mean, you just trust everything you hear and just go with it, make a split
And,
second decision.
and I kind of knew I was being bullshitted because, like I said, I went to my lawyer's doctor. Like it's almost like he got me in somewhere right away just so we could plead that like I was seeking help, which is like it's what I did anyway, and I wanted. But then like I switched doctors to like I could tell it's like his guy because like my lawyer was getting results before I was getting results. Like I was getting calls from him with like reports and stuff, and I'm like, well, why hasn't the doctor called me yet, or why haven't I been called back yet? And just like I could kind of felt like I was in the middle of this like game, and I don't know if it's doctor's fault, lawyer's fault, or the system's fault, or insurance's fault. You know what I mean? But like the biggest point was, I feel like looking back, like my injury wasn't what everyone was focusing on. They're all focusing on different aspects. You know what I mean? And it's my responsibility to focus on my injury and what's best for me. And I kind of let myself get kind of tied up in that like shitty game that you have to play. And like nobody ever showed me, like I heard my injuries from many doctors and stuff, but nobody ever like sat down and showed me like a picture of my disc, or like, you know, they just told me what was going on and told me different treatments. And like I said, the physical therapy place was the only place I felt like was like helping me and was honest. And like they almost like led me, I could tell like they almost led me to thinking that I only could get surgery to feel better. Like they were like saying this is permanent. You're like you're gonna have this for life. Um, you know, you're permanently altered, and saying like they're like just saying terms like that. Like the word they used a lot was permanent. And I'm like, so in my head, I'm sitting here thinking like, dude, I'm fucked. I'm fucked for life. This pain's never gonna go away. It's not gonna get better. You know, I have to do, like, you know, they're kind of putting that pressure on me. Like, you have to do this, you have to do that. And um, one thing I've noticed that's been helping as well is like cutting down on like inflammatory foods and trying to focus on like anti-inflammatory foods, like kind of all natural. And then like
Yeah,
focusing on my posture and just something that simple has taken a lot of the edge off.
yeah, I'm sure all that does help, you know. But I mean, how far along are you in this injury? Because it sounds like it's been longer than I dealt with mine.
Yeah, mine was in like 2000, the end of 2018. I mean,
Yeah, so
it comes and goes. It's weird. Like it's like I'll get like a few months where I feel like a machine, bro. Like I'll feel perfectly fine, strong. I'm like training hard, nothing's bothering me, and then like I'll get like a couple weeks that are really rough, and then it'll go away and it comes back, and then I'll get times where it's like it has me on my ass, and I'll have times where I feel like it's gone. I do need it. I do like I should like go get it fucking looked at and stuff. It's just so goddamn expensive and hard to find
yeah,
a good doctor and stuff, you know, like my life has
right,
been changing at a very quick pace the past couple of years or few years, you know. It's been kind of hard to
right.
prioritize different things. But
Yeah, I would highly suggest just getting the MRI done. And I think you can get one of those for like 250 bucks somewhere. And
oh,
that'll give you a good idea of where you're at.
are you one of the people that like for instance it comes to like cuz there's people like I'm a little bit this way, but and I know other people that are like this way, like they don't want to know. Like they're like like almost like they're scared to see it. And then there's people who are like, no, I need to go right now and see what the fuck's up with my body, you know?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of both. Like, there's been, I've had like, I don't know if anyone's ever had just random chest pains caused by like that gas. Where you have you ever had that? I
Oh
always
yeah,
call it like the lightning pain.
yeah.
Like I get that every once in a while. I'm like, oh man, I hope my heart's okay, but I'm not going to go get it checked out because I don't want to know if there's something wrong with my heart.
So,
But yeah, so I understand.
dude, I've been through a lot of this like kind of shit, you know, and that's one thing I was gonna say earlier is like all the things I've been in the hospital for and been fucking hurt for and stuff. Like, I like getting put to sleep is like scary to me. Like, even when they did my wisdom teeth, bro, like they tried to put the laughing gas on me, and I said, I'm like, I told them no before. I told them no like during like they started trying to put it on me, and I like I ripped it off my face, and I looked at the guy and I said no, and he's like, okay man, well, we won't do it. like like I don't know, there's just something weird about that. Like you're like in a kind of like the people surrounding you, and then like all of a sudden you're out, just kind of strange to me. But I mean, I got off, I lost track of where I was going with all that. But
I will say you're crazy for that, bro, because I'm the complete opposite. I don't want to feel a thing. Put me out, give me the Valium, the laughing gas. Give me the anesthesia. I don't want to feel a damn thing.
I don't really like being loopy. Fucking
It's temporary.
dude, when they like when they pulled my teeth out, like I told them like I want like the bare minimum, and they're like, you don't want the gas? I'm like, no. And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, no. Like I want the bare, like I just want to come in, rip them out, and let's go. And like they kept trying to give me all this shit. And I'm like, no, no, no. And then the guy like put like the numbing thing in my gums, and he's like, you're still gonna feel a little bit of pain, but this will take the edge off. And he goes, because we're doing your wisdom teeth, like the nerves, you'll probably still feel like your nerves kicking. I'm like, all right, let's get it done, dude. It was so trippy because my mouth was like relatively numb. Like I could feel what was going on, but it wasn't like I could tolerate it. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like intolerable, and I'm just watching blood squirt out of my mouth, and like I can feel them and hear them breaking my teeth and pulling them out, and like it was so fucking trippy. And then like I'm seeing the guy like scoop out a big ass bloody tooth with his like little thing, and I'm seeing, like I said, blood squirting out and shit. It was kind of trippy to watch.
Yeah,
Like
they're probably trying to give you all that stuff because they've never ran into some crazy dude like you are. Like who walks into the I want my all my wisdom teeth out, but I don't want shit for it.
yeah, I just want to fucking get it done. I mean,
They're probably surprised.
dude, they were looking at me weird and shit, and like the lady who like I told you, I told them that like several times, and they put the mask on me, and I like they're already like working on my mouth a little bit, so I'm like a little bit like I'm like looked at her, I'm like, what is this? And she's like, it's okay, it's gonna feel like you drank wine, and she's like, just take some deep breaths, and then like everything got like a little bit wonky, like this, like I swear, like I was hearing womp womp womp, and I grabbed the mask and I pulled it off my face, and I looked at the guy, and I said no, like I was pissed, and he was like okay, and then afterwards, bro. So I walked out of there, right? Could barely like talk, and I signed the thing, I paid him cash, and then I got my car. And by the time I got to, like, I was house sitting for my friend. By the time I got to his house, dude, the pain kicked in, and it was like some of the harshest pain I've ever had. Like, talk about like pain levels, dude. I couldn't like sit still. I was walking in circles, and I remember I like packed up my shit, and I went home, and I'm like, I gotta stay busy. Um,
Would you
I was
say
like,
that was your 10? That was your threshold?
I think that was 10 because, dude, I went home, I went over to my like that's when my mom moved back to grandma's house. And remember how I was living at grandma's house by myself, and my mom moved in?
Mm-hmm.
Like she moved back, and then I was moving out. So we were like in the middle of transitioning that house a little bit. And I just remember like going in there and telling my mom, I'm in so much fucking pain. And my dumb ass I didn't get the pain. I didn't cash in the prescription after I left the office. Cause I was like, I'm not going to do that shit. I don't want that shit. Like, I just don't like pills. I don't like painkillers. It's probably my personal thing. Cause I've had friends OD and stuff like that. And I've had,
Mm-hmm.
since I was young, I've had a lot of friends who've gotten hooked on that kind of, like, I've seen like a dark side of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, understandable for sure.
And also I'm kind of like, relatively a natural person. Like I like to try to find natural roots. I don't. It's not like I don't believe in medicine. It's just like I don't go that route unless I need to. But
Mm-hmm.
fuck, bro, that pain was tough. Like I got home and I remember I was like walking in circles and like I couldn't sit down and I was just trying to stay busier than my mind was. So like outwork my brain. And my mom was like, "Why don't I take you up to CVS and we get them painkillers?" And I think it was Percocet. She's like, and we'll cash them in. And I never taken anything like that before. So like, I'm like, fine, fuck it. And I went with her. So I kind of was like at my wit's end too, dude. And I went with her. We cashed it in. I came home and I took one and I took a shower. And by the time I got out of the shower, bro, I was like, the pain was going away and I was super fucking sleepy. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
just sleep it off.
yeah. And that's, dude, I basically spent like 3 days went by like nothing. I think I was just waking up, taking one and going back to bed. I think that's all I
Yeah,
did for like 3 days. Like I think I slept straight through 3 days.
that's how kind of how my experience was too with wisdom teeth as well. I kind of just took the pain medicine. It makes you real tired, so you just sleep through it.
Yeah, I guess there's a point of mental toughness, and then there's a point of like being smart about it. You know, like oh, there's modern medicine. You know, like let's use it for what it's used for and get it out. You know.
Yeah, well, for what it's worth, man, you going back to you being crazy, one of my first like memories with you, because are you 32?
33.
33, so you're 6 years older than me. One of my first memories with you is you having that Jeep rank. Was it Jeep Cherokee?
Yeah.
And you had subwoofers in there?
Yeah.
I remember you at my parents' house. I'm in the passenger seat in that thing, and they live next to that trailer park. And you blasting music, and I almost want to say it was Fireman by Lil Wayne. And you
Probably, dude.
just
That was
thumping
like my
that
favorite
music.
song.
Yeah, you were just thumping that music and driving in the grass right along the fence line of the trailer park, pissing them off. And then there's a big hill in the middle of that retention pond, and you just gun it, and we got like 2 feet of air in that thing. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's crazy.
That poor fucking Jeep.
But I just remember like, oh, dude, my cousin's crazy, man. It was cool. Like my cousin's so cool. That was my like
that
one of my impressions.
that sound system was fucking dope, dude. Like I had that thing was legit. And it sucked because like right after I built that sound system and like put all that into that Jeep, like it broke down. I probably like sucked the life out of that Jeep.
Yeah, it's
that,
funny because I remember that moment. Like, I think Kevin's my favorite cousin because you guys
yeah.
always used to ask me, you and Logan, you and your brother, who's your favorite cousin? I always be like, I'm not saying.
Yeah, boy.
Shout out. It was just that moment in time. I was like, oh, Kevin's my favorite cousin. But shout out to Logan, man. Me and Logan have had some great memories.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I
Yeah,
used to
you
go
guys were
to
way
y'all's
closer.
house all the time.
You guys were like way closer in age. I think you guys hung out. You guys probably hung out more than him and I hung out.
Yeah, dude, we had some long weekends, and yeah, we had some good. We would stay up all night playing video games, and uh, some people think video games are lame, but I tell you what, some of the best memories of my childhood come from video games. So it is what it is.
Yeah, dude. Sometimes I think back about like how I used to be. I'm like, damn, I'm just lucky to be here.
Yeah,
Like I reminisce all the time, especially having kids, man. Like I drive around, I'm like, fuck, I hope my kids don't do half that shit. Like, is this gonna be
yeah,
the payback that I've always heard about? You know?
yeah,
It,
yeah. I've heard you have some stories, but it seems like in today you've calmed down.
oh yeah, I try to work on myself daily. I know I'm incomplete or not incomplete, but like I'm not like a I'm always working mentally, physically. Like I'm always working. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to because every single one of us are flawed.
Every single one of us are flawed. Yeah, yeah,
Flawed.
exactly.
Yeah,
But like I mean, it's like I think I told you a long time ago. Like when I worked with you, I like have like a little note section on my phone, and I try to constantly have one main focus in my notes to work on, and like one main focus, one daily focus, and then I have like my goal sheet for the day. And I try to like, and you know, I don't always hit my goal sheet for the full day, but like it usually like my daily goal sheet usually turns on like a week project. I just don't have the time that I used to. Like I'm still like planning stuff as if I don't have kids. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I'm gonna go home and I have like 6 hours to myself, and it's really not like that anymore. But like I think that's helped change a lot. So for any of you lost stragglers out there listening, fucking start writing shit down on a little piece of note paper, and it does make a huge difference just to get in the habit of like making like a note and holding on to it. Like I'll put a sticky note on the back of my phone or my wallet, things that I'm always touching. And it could have just a word on it, or it could have like a written out sentence on what I'm working on. But it's just like it just puts that thought constantly in my head. And once I write down things on paper, it's like it really helps me like solidify it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And that's good that you do that because, I mean, I'm the complete opposite. I don't write anything down, and when I do write stuff down, I still don't do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I
It's
don't know.
not as complicated as you think, man. It's just a habit. It's just creating habits. Creating one of the best books I've ever read is Atomic Habits, and I think I was actually reading that book when I worked with you. And one of the best books I ever read because it's just like literally like explains like habit stacking and creating habits, and like that's like what a lot of things are like successful people don't tend to be just like successful. It's not like they're just like they tend to have uh there's so much knowledge out there, and like dissection and like statistics of like people that like there's so many ways to learn how to be anything you want, really, you know what I mean, that like with successful people it tends to just be habits that add up, like creating good habits for yourself, whatever you want. And successful people, I mean, like as in any direction you want to go, not like just like, oh, people with a lot of money are good at habits. It's like, no, people who are good at what they do have like a lot of good habits. Like you like your job, you're detailing, tuning, and learning the piano world, right?
Right.
So whether you like it or not, going to work and showing up every day and putting in hours, it's a habit. You've made it a habit because you do it daily, right? Like you're going to do that regardless. It's not that hard for you anymore, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Now think if you like stack the habit on top of it, like, okay, um I'm going to go to work, and on my way to work, because I'm already going to be driving to work, I'm going to think of one thing to focus on today. My whole drive there is going to think about what I want to focus on today. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
now,
it makes
so
sense.
so now you get in the habit of every time you're driving to work, you're focusing on something to make better, and then that turns into like, the next habit, the next habit, the next habit. Pretty soon, years go by, and you're going to be the type of person who's like, you know, you're going to be better organized, and you're just going to be like creating a snowball effect, and like all the little things, it's like a bunch of little things that add up and go in that direction. That's how jiu-jitsu is too. Like the a black belt usually doesn't lose to one move. They usually lose to details adding up to that move, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
So like it's a huge life changer, and I'm like trying to focus on that stuff and build the empire. It's coming.
It's coming, man. I really hope, man, you build your empire, whatever that empire is. I don't know what your vision is, but keep up the good habits. And like you said, they just I got to take my own advice too, but it's a lot easier said than done, but you just got to do it. I need to write down that book. What did you say the name of that book was?
Atomic Habits, I can send it to you. I got a bunch of good books. I'm actually like today I started one, but I'm actually in the mix of trying to find some other good ones like that. Like, all right, I don't know what happened.
I don't know. I just I think my dog hit my phone or something because it
Yeah, it just told me I was done recording. I'm like, I ain't said I'm done yet. Where'd I leave off? Where'd I leave off? Or what did you hear last?
um I think we were talking about building your empire.
Yeah, so build an empire, and then I was talking about I think I circled back to like another example of the habits thing is like, for instance, like, most people come home from work or sit at home and they watch like, let's say, fuck it, like let's say 2 episodes of The Simpsons. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Part of me is like, okay, like I'm not against like watching The Simpsons. I think it's a nice escape. Like I think like sometimes it's great to like zone out and then come back. Um, but instead of watching 2 episodes of The Simpsons or 3 episodes of some bullshit YouTube channel, like maybe watch 1 episode of The Simpsons and then watch like a YouTube video or YouTube videos about something productive. You know what I mean? Like learn how to meal prep or learn, just whatever you're into, but something more productive, like or a skill
Yeah,
set. You know what I mean? Like if
right.
if you're into woodworking and you get home from, say you're into woodworking, but you work at fucking, who knows, Walmart or gas station, whatever, and you come home from work and you spend the few hours you have before you have to go to sleep and start over again on watching The Simpsons and Judge Judy and whatever, like you'd never become a better woodworker, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But if you watch an episode of The Simpsons and then maybe watch a few videos about woodworking until you went to sleep, like that could spark like some inspiration that can spark you to start maybe making woodworking projects to sell, maybe like just like I don't know, just building skill sets or like at least pushing in a direction.
Yeah, just finding ways to expand your craft and build upon yourself.
Exactly, 100%. Like you're all into fantasy football, bro. I can feel it. I can feel it.
Dude, I want to say I'm still into fantasy football, but I feel like at the end of the day, I'm just like mediocre. Like, but then again, it's like, what do you do? It's like playing the lottery ticket. It's
It
like
really
playing the lottery ticket against 12 people or whatever, how many people are in your league.
Yeah, I also think that there might be like taking in too much information because
For
like there's
sure.
only so much in your control. So I think it's another. I don't know. I think it's a matter of like because it does seem like there are people who are good at it. Like there are people who draft well, and there are people who end up like in the top ranks a lot. But part of me also feels like I don't know. Like how was that? Part of me also is like sometimes there's just lucky people. Like my cousin, she like once drafted all the guys she thought was cute, and turns out like she was in the championship at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that reminds me of those Instagram reels I've seen of the quarterbacks where they turn them into females.
Oh my god!
Have you seen those?
Remember the guy who judges them off of beers?
Yeah,
Like it was like Aaron Rodgers, but it was Erin Rodgers.
yeah.
He looked like a
I'll need a six pack for that one.
six pack. And who was it? Who was it? And he was like water.
I think that was Jimmy
Jimmy
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo. He just says water.
Hilarious.
Ben Roethlisberger. It's like whole keg.
Whole cake.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you talking about this and sharing. I think. Oh yeah, I wanted to touch too, just like kind of. I wanted to touch up on. So you had the choice of like a fusion, and then you did your surgery. What exactly was your surgery? Like, was it just shaving down the bone, or was it? It wasn't
Uh,
replacing anything, was it? It was just kind of cleaning it up in there.
yeah, basically it's considered a microsurgery. So, yeah, it's just because your disc sits in between your spinal vertebrae and acts as a cushion, and that cushion, which is your disc, is like a jelly-filled donut, and when the the gel in the middle squirts out on your spinal cord, that causes all the inflammation. So what they did, they just went in there and they cleaned out what had bursted that was pushing on my spine, and they just removed it.
Okay, so that's one thing too. I think that I'm kind of praying for is like either I've read good things about stem cells. Now I'm not like a fucking master at it. I know it's not like really the main approach, and I know some people probably say that shit's whack. But from I've seen like a lot of people who have said that they've gotten stem cell, and it's like done like wonders. Like people who are severely injured getting stem cell injections and healing up pretty well and pretty strongly.
Yeah, if you're interested in going that route, have you heard of PRP?
Yes.
I think that's also kind of something that's been very popular lately that people have been saying the same thing about. I don't know exactly what it is, but something about they take your own blood and they spin it, and then they take a certain part of it and inject it where you're having issues. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't want to butcher it. I don't want to sound like a complete idiot because I don't completely understand it. But about something like that, I don't know if spinning the blood gets the white blood cells going or if it, I don't know what it does. But I've vaguely heard of that, and then the other thing I've seen lately that seems to be having good results, and I think you told me that it's not really good for the back, or they don't have it for the back yet, but like the disc replacement surgery, and
Yeah, yeah.
we've got a doctor actually close by, like over in Tampa. He does like the Lightning players, or he's done like Tyler Johnson when he was on the Lightning and stuff. And I don't think
Yeah,
this guy's. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say Tyler Johnson. That's when you said that. I was like, I know he got one of those. I was wondering if there was a way you could hit him up and be like, hey, Tyler Johnson, how'd that work out for you?
My buddy actually got the surgery from the same surgeon, same surgery from the same guy who did Tyler Johnson, and he said good thing. Like he was another one. Like he went into surgery, they put him out, and then like he was texting me from the hospital the next day, and he was like, "Yeah, I feel great." And he said he was hungry. Like he's like, I could eat a whole horse, but I feel fucking great. And they like showed me a picture, and he had like almost all the food you could get in the hospital sitting in front of him.
That's
Like
awesome.
his
Good for
whole
him.
thing was like stacked with food. It was funny as hell.
Good
But
for him.
he seems to be good. Like shortly after that, I was actually at like East Sporta working out with Brittany, and he was in there working out. Like he was already back to lifting. It was fucking crazy. And then
Yeah, yeah,
my other buddy, same thing, car accident, fucked up his neck. He went through a lot. He probably made my shit look like relatively mild. And because I was just seeing like all these posts from him about him being in pain and how tough it is, and this is like the hardest thing in his life, and he's really pushing his faith in God to get through it, yada yada yada, that type of thing. I was like, damn, like that sucks. And I think he got it, and I've been seeing pictures of him lately. He seems like happy and good, like life is good.
yeah. They, I think the neck is a little bit easier because the neck isn't so weight bearing as the back is. So you got, I think, more options.
That's crazy to think that, because you would think that like the neck is more tedious.
Yeah, it's you're like I bet you probably suffer from some migraines and pain down your arm and your shoulder. But
Yeah,
if you think about it, your neck's really only holding your head, right?
yeah, yeah. There's just a
And
bunch of
then,
fucking nerves in there, like the I'm gonna fuck this up. Vargas nerve, vagus nerve. It's there's a big nerve. There's a lot of big nerves like in your neck, and especially like higher up in the neck, that like they can trigger, like you get this like weird ice pick headache, or like a
yeah,
question mark headache, like where it's like you can feel like your eye around your ear, like to the back of your head. It's just like in this like fucking severe pain.
how miserable is that?
That was tough. That shit sucks ass. It's all tough because like in your neck, it can affect your cognitive functions as well. Like like how do I explain this? Like kind of foggy. Like not only do you have like a dull headache, but it's kind of foggy. It's because your neck is tight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like you got to get your muscles to relax and kind of like stretch your neck out, and like kind of do some therapy and get the blood flowing in it again, and kind of get everything moving, because like it can just like affect like your overall cognitive function. Like I mean, you understand with your back pain, like when you're in that much pain all the time, it kind of like is always on your mind. Like it's mentally taxing, mentally draining.
I know. The only time it's not on your mind is when you're sleeping.
Shit, I know. Yeah, I tried to do that a lot when I first was like when it first happened to me. I remember I was trying to like I got like so sick of it at one point. Like I was in so much pain at one point that I was taking ibuprofen and then just trying to sleep the days away, dude. Like almost like I was just like somewhat in my head, I thought I was just gonna wake up one day with the pain gone. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I mean, you. That's just putting like confidence in your body. Like, oh, my body's gonna heal myself, and you really just want it to. You think it's going to, you know. Every
right.
other injury I've ever had, you know, my body's just healed itself on its own. So I was right there with you, man. You just to me, I just got to a point where I just couldn't take it anymore. I was tired of it.
I mean,
But
like I said earlier, like there's also like that's the thing about being mentally tough and trying to tough things out is just because you can tough things out doesn't mean it's always the smartest route, you know.
hey,
Like
they
there,
say as long as you have more good days than you have bad days, you're doing all right.
yeah, I mean that makes sense. Like you're at a net positive, you know. Sometimes, but you know, for sometimes you go through periods where it's tough for a long time, and you just have to be confident that it's gonna come out, you know, great. It's gonna work out, you know.
Yeah, it's
I,
wild.
I know a lot of people get in a lot of pain and they lose confidence, and then I've seen that work in the wrong direction. I've had a friend who he's riding a skateboard and he got hit by an old lady, hit him, like hit him square up, and it fucked up his leg and his hip. And doctor was like, "Here's painkillers," and he was taking painkillers and wasn't really killing the pain for him, not for long. And then he ended up getting like hooked, like addicted, and then you know, end up
That's,
turned out
that's
ended up leading to his you know his demise, and it kind of
yeah,
sucks.
that's a vicious cycle, and unfortunately once you get grabbed by it, not too many make it out of that.
Right, and that's why like I think that's why like I think it's important not like I said earlier like modern medicine and surgeries and stuff like it's just like I think it's important to try to take a deep breath and weigh out what's best, you know, or what you think the best route is. I'm glad like you know you went through a bunch of pain up front here, and I'm glad like you're feeling confident that it's going to give you the relief and that you're like actually feeling better. How's that? Going through
Um,
pain for 3 years and then going through excruciating pain and then just like waking up to like starting to feel better. How's that feel? Is that like a
it's
euphoric?
en- it's encouraging. Encouraging is the best word because now I feel like they went and in there and they took out everything that was causing the problem. So now, truly, my body is all it has to do is heal its own. So now I feel like I'm at that point where I'm like, as we just were talking about, like now I feel like my body's going to heal itself.
That's awesome.
So encouraging.
Yeah,
And
I
that
get
was just to touch up on the pain pill subject. That was something I really respected my doctor too because I told him how much pain I was in. And he said, the one thing I'm not going to do is prescribe you painkillers because that will ruin your life.
respect. I respect that because I'm sure there was a heavy incentive to do it, but in my opinion, yeah.
In
But
today's world, I think there may not be as much just because of the whole OxyContin situation and how that unfolded. I think they kind of clean that up in today's world, but there's still your dirty doctors out there. Don't get me wrong.
oh yeah, I've seen plenty. I know there's still plenty out there that you walk in and say you have a headache and you're walking out with a script, but you know, teach it. That's there's good and bad out there. Can't let you know. Try not to let the few bads always cancel out the goods. Kind of
Yeah,
going
amen.
back to your outlook, as long as there's more good ones than there's bad ones, right? And you can tell
That's
the
yeah,
difference.
yeah, dude. As long as the glass is half full and not half empty.
Yeah, and that's another thing I was gonna wonder about. So like and you know my buddy, I got a buddy who has he broke his collarbone when we were young, and now that we're getting older, it's like starting to put like stress on his neck just because the imbalances that he's like developed over so much time. And like so him and I talk about our neck pain all the time together because it tends for whatever reason we have similar issues a lot of the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
You get in these like funks, like I know it happens to me too. Like if I wake up and have one of them bad days where I'm in a lot of pain, maybe it's like 2 or 3 days. My brain, it's weird. There's like something psychological that goes on that makes you feel like it's forever. Like in the moment, you're like, this is forever. I've always felt this way. It's you know, like you start mentally tearing yourself apart. Like it's a um, gosh, I forget what it's called. There's a term for it though. It's like you know, almost like not recognizing the fact that it's temporary and it will go away, and you will, like you said, your body will heal. or like, you know, this headache's not forever, obviously.
Right.
Like
You probably
it's
feel like you're trapped. It's never going away.
yes, you get trapped in this like pain loop of telling yourself that like, and it's goddamn, I can't think of the freaking term, but the term, it's like one of them terms that explains everything. But like it's gonna come to me after the podcast, and I'm gonna be like, I'm such an idiot. I need to start writing shit down, but or writing shit
Well,
before the
I'm sure
podcast.
you've had a long day, bro, and it's 12:38 in the morning.
Yeah, it
It'll come to you tomorrow.
yeah, for sure. But it's basically like you get, like you said, you get stuck in the loop. So like your brain starts recognizing that, and from recognizing that pain, your brain is triggered by that pain. Um, so all your brain is referring to is the last time you've had that pain. So it puts you in this mental loop of like, I have this pain. I've always had this pain. I recognize this pain from all these different times. And then you start kind of getting stuck in this like this period of like it's permanent, it's going to last forever. And it's like really like kind of like a dangerous path if you don't recognize it.
It's funny that you brought that up because I actually just went through what you just described because the other day I was just like randomly throughout the day, I was just getting this nerve pain that I was having before. It just wasn't as bad. And I didn't say anything. And my wife looked at me and she's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I'm just worried. Like this pain, I just felt this nerve pain in the same area that I've had this problem." And she's like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then it just kind of triggered my brain, like you just said. Like I just went into like a funk for a second. And then I remember reading that since the nerve is so inflamed, it can take several months for that nerve pain to completely go away. So it kind of like reassured myself and had to like reel myself in. I'm like, oh no, it's gonna get better.
Yeah, and it's just weird that because even now explaining it to me, it might happen to you again, and you might get back in the same like mental loop. And this is kind of one of the reasons why I started this podcast. I know I say that every podcast, but like my brain's all over the place, so I have a million. It just solidifies. I have a million reasons why I kind of started it, but like just in case like these words and experiences get to somebody someday or help somebody someday, because this is all like I like to talk about all this kind of shit because it's like hard times I can refer to like those times of pain and those like example of what we're talking about right now of you get stuck in that loop of like I've always had this pain, it's never going to go away, I'm fucked forever, and it can like really put you down a dark path, you know.
Yeah,
But
it really can.
how often do you hear about people or therapy or someone who's like, you should go talk to somebody who's been through that pain before? You know, like I don't hear that a lot about depression, or more about depression now than ever, but like still not too often, or anxiety. But I know when I had depression and anxiety, and I didn't know depression and anxiety existed or what it was, like I thought I was fucking crazy. Like I was not well in the head. I just thought I was a different human being. I thought I was like one of a billion, one in a billion type of like, like it was just a very weird alienated feeling until I finally started like after years of it, I finally started meeting people that like had the same issue or I could relate to. And then I started feeling like that slowly, almost like you're talking about your pain relief. I was starting to feel like a mental relief. Like, holy shit, like this is something. And it would just take me a notch down, like a notch down, back down to earth, you know? And it's kind of the same with pain, like pain tolerance and stuff. Like there's ups and downs and your body's fixing shit and you can get in some bad mental loops because you're dealing with something traumatic,
Right.
and
So I've been lucky enough in my life to where I've never really, of course, I've had my ups and downs, but I've never gone into a deep depression or a anxiety attack. I've never had that, and I know you have. So do you think that in today's age, it's just more talked about and more discussed, and people are more open to the idea of that just being a thing? Or do you think back in the day it didn't really exist because people were just grinding their life away, just trying to survive? What do you think?
I think it's a little bit of I think people are slightly softer now, and I think people uh search for search not like search for answers too much, but like I think people search for too many conditions. Like like you don't feel good for a day or you get anxiety a lot. Rather than being like it's completely normal and being like that's normal, it happens and this is how you deal with the loop and getting on top of it and learning how to manage it. People more so are inclined to be like, I have this issue, I need to go get a fix right now. I need it to get fixed right now. What's the easiest possible way to fix it? And I think life's just not easy, dude. Like we don't know what the fuck we're doing. We're all like just floating on a rock in the middle of nowhere, you know? Like I just think that I think that like I think the mindset is just different. Like I think back then everything was built with hard work and from the ground up, you know what I mean? And now I think people have so much shit to compare to that they do it to themselves. Like you go on Instagram and you see a bunch of people smiling and flaunting, and then you got all these influencers who are also posting, and it's all fake shit. They're posting staged like their days, like they're posting everything staged and everything glorious, right? And people are
Yeah,
constantly comparing to that type of shit. And what happens when you compare? You're looking for you like if you're comparing, you're looking for what you don't measure up to.
exactly.
And I think it's like we have a whole lot of stuff like that on our daily basis. Whereas back in the day, you had dirt and you had fucking, work tools and you had your home and your family. And that's like wholesome feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And if you
Like
didn't work, you didn't eat.
if you went out and fucking mowed your grass or tended to your cows and your chickens and then you went, worked a hard day and went back home, you're not thinking about what the fuck some dude in LA is doing or what he's eating tonight for dinner or like how much money this guy has across the state or you know what I mean? What Logan Paul and Jake Paul is up to. Like you're going home, you're having dinner with your family and you're sitting around a table. Like I think it's stuff like that is why people are feeling this way. There's not a whole lot of you know, like there's just a lot of comparison. And
Yeah, I think that would probably be a good goal to set, would be to come home and then for the last hour before you go to bed, just have like no TV, no phone, no social media. I think that would probably be a good goal to have, that you could just connect to your family a lot more. I think that might be my next goal.
write it down, put it on a sticky note.
I'll have to write that one down and stick
That's
to it.
that's one of the things we're talking about is we're in a for the people listening, like we're in a small condo. So we're talking about you know how we downsized the couch just to give ourselves some more room, and it's a dope ass couch. I love the pull out idea, but um, we're talking about getting like a dining table. That way, like, because kind of down like almost exactly like what you just suggested. Like we've been talking about getting a dining table because of that how we feel like that's like an important thing. Like we make, come home from work or whatever, we make food or pick up food, whatever the fuck it is. But we got, the baby or the kids sitting at the table and mom and dad sitting at the table and we all eat together until our plates are done. Then you don't have to worry about if the 2 year old's in her room and eating her food or playing or, you know what I mean?
I think that's very important because I grew up that way. We always ate at the dinner table almost every single day.
And had dinner time, right?
Yeah, I'd get caught, I'd be playing outside. My mom or my dad would say, "Hey, get your ass in here. It's time for dinner. Let's eat." And then, we'd all eat together. It's
I have,
important. I think it's important, and I'm guilty of it myself.
mhm.
Come home from work, sit on my phone for hours, totally disconnected. Yeah, I'd like to. That's a great idea. Get it, because we have no space either. I'm in the same situation. So
To this
dining room
day,
table, eat together. It's
I know,
perfect.
I know I've got all these hobbies and I got all this like I keep myself very occupied and busy. Like I've always got 10 things on my mind and the next thing is always, like I'm always like got something going on. But like to this day, like one of the things I like the most like I was bitching. I don't know, was that tonight or yesterday or the other day that I was like bitching about how like people don't show up, or like when people plan stuff, or like especially like a barbecue, and then they don't fucking hit you up. Like that's one of them things to me. Like I still just like enjoy like turning a grill on, getting a bunch of food out, and then like sitting with a bunch of people and like either, hanging out, prepping the food, throwing it on the grill, and then sitting down and eating the food and hanging out and just, it's like such like a, I don't know why. Like it could be family or it could just be friends. It's just always like to me, uh, there's always something like maybe not in the moment, but like a day or two later, it's one of them things I reflect on. Like that's like I don't know. I fucking love that. Like we just made this fucking pork roast, or we just made this fucking you know rack of ribs, and then sat around and
Yeah,
ate it. It's like it's so simple, but it's like to me like quality,
yeah, I'm the same way. I think that's kind of just boiled in human DNA is like being
like tribal.
around people, being tribal, building a community, being around the people that you like and trust. It's like fulfilling.
Yes,
You know, you hang out with people and like that was a fun day. That was a good day.
like if someone's like if like the weekend's coming up, because now I'm a fucking person who only lives for the weekend for now, but like the weekend comes up and someone's like, hey, let's go to the movies, let's go play putt putt, let's go bowling, let's go do this. Like I'm always like, fuck, like that's gonna take up half my day. Like, do I
Right.
want to take up half my day? Like, but if you're like, hey, like a bunch of us are gonna get together and we're gonna cook and hang out, I'm like, that's pretty dope. Like that's worth loading up the truck, or stopping at the store and like so that's like always one thing in my head. Like that could just be me, but like, and it's funny because like you just said, like a lot of people don't do that anymore. Like sit around the dinner table, hang out.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an evolutionary thing because if you think about it, what do we do almost every single holiday? We all get together, we all hang out, we all eat, we all have a few beers or whatever it is and have fun. Christmas, Thanksgiving, I mean, Labor Day, 4th of July, whatever it is.
Only
It's
when
like
it's safe.
it's only, yeah, yeah, only when it's safe, right?
But yeah, um, well, I mean, like we said, bro, let's get together Sunday and get football ready.
Dude, I'm
It's
stoked for football season.
and it's me versus you the first week in the big league, bro. It's meant to be.
Yeah, bro.
Take down the.
Probably half my team will probably be on IR after the first week.
Nah, this is your year, bro. This is. I feel. What did I tell you? What did I tell you? Never give up. And what happened to you? You won that
Yeah,
league.
I know, bro. I was like 0 and 5 or 0 and 4, and you were like, never give up. And I was like, all right,
Just
what do
don't.
I have to lose? And I ended up winning that year, so
In that league.
in that league.
Oh man, is there any closing statements? Is there anything for my three fans that you want to say?
Your three only fans?
Yeah, God. No,
I don't know, man. I just thanks for having me. It's
picking up traction. I hope you had fun.
yeah, it's pretty late here, so I'm gonna, get ready for bed and go to sleep and keep on recovering.
Yeah, you get paid to recover. It's fucking awesome. Did
Yeah, it's nice. Grateful.
one last question. Are you gonna listen to this? Are you gonna listen to your own episode?
Not right away.
see what your voice feels like?
Not right away. I don't want to know what I sound like. I feel like I think I told you I read a statistic like 75% of people don't like the way they sound when they listen to themselves.
Yeah, man. I get it. I'm still getting used to it, but I just don't care.
And I've always been told my whole life I'm monotone. You have no energy in your voice. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm
I do
not.
this.
I'll
I'm the
listen to
same
it
way.
eventually.
I'm the same way. I'm like excited as fuck, and I'm like, man, I was excited. I was hyped, and then like I'll hear like the playback, and I sound like one even keel level. I'm like, that's not what I sounded like in my fucking head, but
Dude, that's the story of my life. I could have the greatest news and be so happy in my head and somebody will be like, "Wow, Bryce, you sound so excited," to be the most sarcastic statement. But it's just the way I am, man.
people just don't know how to take you sometimes. Well, you have a good night, sir. Appreciate for doing this, and I'll see you around the neighborhood for sure.
I'll see you around the block. Thanks for having me on.
See you, crazy little cousin.
Peace out.
I think the podcast is fucking sick. If you're listening to it and you're like, I don't know if I want to listen to the next episode of this podcast, you're probably a bitch ass. You need to listen to the next episode of this podcast and keep listening to it. Because my friends down here are trying to make shit happen. And we're
That's
going to make some shit happen.